How did neoliberalism go from this fringe idea to this dominant global force that we grapple with today? To understand this, we have to talk about crisis and how crisis presents opportunity. I think you've heard the quote, never waste a good crisis. Neoliberalism is all about that. I'll be drawing here on thinkers and historians like Quinn, Slobodian, and thinkers like Naomi, Klein. For decades after World War II, Friedrich Hayek and Milton Friedman's ideas were considered to be marginal. The consensus was more Keynesian economics, inspired by John Keynes. This had to do with mixed economies and strong welfare states. But then came the 1970s, and with it brought oil shocks and stagflation, crisis for the general public, reorganization of profit for the private sector, and a general understanding that the government seemed to be failing. And this was the opening. As Naomi Klein outlines in her book, The Shock Doctrine, very often moments of crisis can become or can seem to present opportunities for radical economic transformation of society. We can think about disaster capitalism as an example here. But here's another one. In 1973, Chile's Pinochet, after a very violent coup, brought in Milton Friedman students, the Chicago Boys, to completely restructure and remake the economy of Chile along neoliberal guidelines. They took the country as a lab, and there are several other countries that have been experimented on in a similar way. In 1979 and 1980, Margaret Thatcher, there is no such thing as society, and Ronald Reagan rose to power, and they really embraced the neoliberalism playbook. With their rise came deregulating finance, crushing labor unions, and just our tolerance of privatizing public assets. Of course, what exists today is an accelerated version of that. And it was reframed as freedom and modernization, progress and development. Detractors were deemed to be standing in the way of progress and anti-capitalist, therefore communist, and to be done away with. Furthermore, the Washington Consensus spread its formula globally with institutions like the IMF and the World Bank. Privatize, deregulate, free markets, make trade liberal. The idea here is that neoliberalism wasn't elected or selected. It didn't win over because of sheer intellectual force or because of any guarantee of progress, or even it's not immediate development. It's more a strategic advancement that emerged at a point when crises hit and people were ready for an alternative.